Welcome to SHOWstudio. It's London Fashion Week, really rainy day, so thanks for making an effort to come to Knightsbridge to be with us. But it's a good reason to sort of make your way here because we're going to be talking about Marques Almeida, a really interesting design duo, and I think a real staple on the London Fashion Week scene, and a pair of designers that people are really excited about. Like, they've had a really big year in general because obviously they won the LVMH prize, but I think they really encapsulate a lot of what's really exciting about the younger London designers, like this real focus on day wear, this sort of complete disregard for kind of what traditionally was seen as kind of luxurious or glamorous, and I think they operate in a really exciting way, and also they collaborate, which is really amazing. But before we kind of dive into our discussion about what makes them so great, I'll let my wonderful set of panellists introduce themselves, starting with you, Hettie.
Hello, my name's Hettie Judah. I'm a writer and editor, and I specialise in fashion, art and design.
I'm Cora Delaney. I'm a presenter and editorial assistant at large at ASOS Likes.
Hi, I'm Emma Farrow. I'm the head of design for Refinery Womenswear.
I'm going to pick on you and go to you first, as the head of design. What makes Marques Almeida, what makes their design so particular and so special in your mind? Because,
well, I think for me, like when they had their debut collection, it was so exciting and refreshing and different to everything else that was out there, you know, that was on the catwalks, because it was like, you know, digital, brightly coloured florals, and everything was very, very feminine. And for them to just launch with that real grunge sort of aesthetic was really exciting. And I think as the years have gone on, they've just shown that there's more to them than that. You know, that they've got a real sort of depth, and they're willing to evolve and like explore lots of other avenues. So I'm really excited to see what they do today.
I think it's a good way of putting it, with kind of what they did felt really new, because I think when you think about, even just with denim, I was thinking about it, you know, like designer denim, it sounds like the worst thing, and it feels like designers never get denim right, and no one was making use of that, and then they
reinvented it.
Yeah, completely did. Are you a fan, Cora?
It's like you just know it's them. Like, you can just spot it. And I'm a fan. And like, I was interviewing people the other day, and I was asking what show are you most looking forward to, and nearly everyone said Marques. So.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's just cool. I don't know, but everyone loves it, so I like it.
It's interesting, I think, as well, like just thinking about, I think one thing they do really well is do something, you say, you know it's them, they do something that's really specific, so you can always recognise it, but you can see how they would grow. Like, you can imagine what their store would look like, you can imagine what a book would look like if they did a book, you can imagine like all of that, you can imagine their campaigns and stuff, because they have such a world, which I think is really hard to do that balance between doing something super specific but also being able to grow and develop it. Are you a fan?
Yes, and I remember, and I think we were talking about this on the last panel, where they were definitely a young brand, where I remember actually emailing them going, where do I buy your stuff? I really love what you're doing, I can't find it anywhere. Yeah. And it was really difficult. There was definitely a couple of years lag where they were doing absolutely stunning collections. Yeah. And it just wasn't, people just weren't getting what they were doing. Yeah. They weren't getting that they were doing something that was incredibly special. I mean, for me, what I think it makes them so strong is they've got this incredibly profound involvement with the actual textile. Yeah. And they continue to explore and get deeper and deeper into the possibilities of denim. And they use denim not just structurally, but they use the internal, you know, workings of it as its own embellishment. And they make it into a whole, just by working it so strongly, they make it into a whole different fabric, essentially.
It's interesting. I think people, as much as there's so much love for them in London, I do think people were surprised perhaps when they won their LVMH prize. Why do you think that was?
I mean, I think, as you say, it's very much day wear. I have to say I was pretty surprised as well. I mean, and maybe it goes back to this thing of the fact that they are people that are really working from the textile, and there are very few designers that I think have that really, you know, outside of knitwear, that have that really profound involvement with textiles. So, and perhaps it was a nod to that. But and although they've obviously evolved beyond doing, well, I don't even want to say beyond, because actually I really respect what they do with denim, but they've evolved, and they're obviously doing, you know, many other kind of, you know, garments in their collection. I'm not necessarily sure that buyers are looking at the other stuff yet.
Yeah, I think they find that a bit frustrating, that people often talk about them as a denim label when they're not. Specifically, you know, the chiffon stuff they do is really beautiful, and I think they're really trying to push their accessories, their fur that they do. It's interesting how brands get pigeonholed so quickly, but
And also everybody, I mean, what's been astonishing is the impact they've had. I mean, in the years since they've started doing their, work denim collections, I mean, everybody's doing it. It wasn't just the capsule collection I did for Topshop. I mean, there are so many, subsequent brands that have, even grown up and made that the centre of what they're doing. And obviously they're not doing it in nearly such a profound and kind of learned and involved way, but it's just flooded everywhere. It's extraordinary.
Do you agree with that impact? Have you seen it a lot in what women are wearing?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really filtered down, hasn't it, to sort of everyone, every sort of designer. But I think what I love about what they do is they've made it almost luxurious, the denim, because it is sort of day wear, their denim garments, but it's like how they're mixing it with the chiffons and the satins, and it's very beautiful and it's very elegant, and I think that's what's exciting. And the fact that they won the award is really, really exciting, that the establishment have recognised their talent, and just to see what they're going to do next. I think that they will grow and hopefully be known for other things as well as just their denim.
Well, you can imagine, because there's so much about that kind of nostalgia in the 90s and all those references, you can imagine their perfume and all that kind of stuff. So in a way, they're quite a bankable brand. I think they have a world around them, which is interesting. But as much as I was surprised when they won that award, I do think it makes sense in some ways, because if you think, I know that award isn't kind of LVMH investing in any way, it's kind of them just offering support, but I do think the big luxury groups, there are not many houses that do denim really, really well, and that kind of are owning that part of the market. I think it's something that designer brands are really, really missing out on. But I think the jeanswear industry is really intimidating if it's not something that you're aware of to try and get into it, because is that just my opinion? I don't know if the rest of you agree. I don't think you never look to a designer brand for denim, do you?
You think like La Croix jeans with gold fixtures.
Exactly, you always think, like really awful Dolce jeans or something. But even you'd never be like, I'm going to go buy some Christopher Kane jeans. It's just really weird. You don't think like that. It's always Levi's or something.
Yeah, I think you have to do it the other way, like Acne did, which is you can go from producing quite amazing. So I'm just touching my microphone there. Hope that didn't destroy anything. From doing really well-made jeans into then doing something that's a bit more of a sophisticated offering, but it doesn't really seem to work so well in the other direction.
Yeah, I also think it's just not cool to wear designer jeans. Do you know what I mean?
I would never look at their stuff as I'm buying a pair of jeans. It's I'm buying a nice pair of trousers and they happen to be denim.
Exactly. But then you can imagine as they grow, them having 5 stapled jean styles. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's interesting with them. I just always think when I think designer denim, I just think horrible stretch kind of boot cut with a gold thing on the back pocket.
I really want to wear Armani jeans for the next 3 SHOWstudio. Really,
It's so awful. I always think D&G. With that LVMH prize, and just in terms of, I'm interested to get everyone's take on a prize like that in general, because prizes I think like that, they are quite controversial in some ways, because we all talk about them like they're really brilliant for young designers, but I think are these kind of awards, are they a sustainable way of supporting young brands, these kind of one-off cash injections and then pull out? You're shaking your head, do you not think so?
I don't know, because what do you do after if you... I don't know. It's just a lot of money at once for if you haven't had that much.
Yeah.
You need to manage it properly.
I think you're correct in saying that. I think part of the problem is, it's not that it's kind of sustainable support. I guess with LVMH you do get mentoring, which maybe is actually probably more profitable.
Yeah, I think it sets it apart. The year of mentoring and the support and the contact does set it apart. But I mean, just when I came in, the last panel I was doing, I was wearing a shirt by a Belgian designer called Sandrine Fazoli, and she was the first recipient of the Mango Award, which at that point was the biggest award, and it was 600,000 euros. Wow. Which is a huge cash injection, and she got that with no support at all. There was none of that structure that LVMH are giving at all, and they went down the tubes in about 3 years after that.
Yeah,
it can actually be a real poison chalice.
Yeah, I think it is hard. I think I was thinking about it in relation to Thomas Tate, because I think, this didn't come from him directly, but people who work with him, and I think part of the problem is when you're a really young brand, people do you a lot of favours. They'll be like, oh, we'll squeeze that through for you, we'll help you with this, we'll do this for free, whether it's from production right through to kind of casting, what have you. But I think once you get a cash injection like that, everyone then presumes they're like, well, you've got money now, you can, and then it's kind of what happens after that, and in a way it's harder to kind of, you're still a really young brand, but you can't call in those favours in the same way. I think that's quite strange, that kind of... disparity between where you're actually at and what people think you have.
I think there's also a lot of pressure on the people who are giving the awards to justify that they're really good at selecting recipients, and so they're wanting to pick people that they're going to be able to say in 5 years' time, well, look, they've achieved this much, which means they're less likely to maybe pick people who are like off-kilter talents that are a bit weird, that are doing something that's really out there or that's non-commercial.
I think people were quite surprised that Craig Green didn't win this one, but I think maybe that is part of the problem. It's menswear, it's much more niche, it's perhaps a little bit more experimental. I think that was the vibe I heard from most people. Like, there was a huge amount of warmth. I think everyone was really happy that Marques Almeida won, but maybe surprised in some ways. But I think it depends what those awards are for as well. Are they for a brand that's, what are they judging? Is it for the best design? Is it for, people that are most likely to become a mega brand? It's like, what are those awards for? I think that's what's hard to work out, what are the judges looking for. Yeah, they're strange ones. I don't know if I think they're the most ethical way of doing things, but interesting.
But there are lots of little, smaller awards that I think end up being really important and sustained. If you look at somebody like Christian Wynants, he's won pretty much every award that there is out there to win. He's, whether it's Swiss Textiles, which is now defunct, or ITS, or Andam, or Woolmark, or whatever. And I think, over a 12-year career or whatever, they've just actually allowed him to keep going sometimes. So, they can be important and beneficial for people, but
Let's talk, I'm interested to talk about the way sort of Marques Almeida run their business as well, just in terms of, they're really savvy with the web as well, and I think they do a lot of quite clever things like showing, like doing adverts, ad campaigns that just work online, using Instagram a lot, and they've been very good at setting up their own e-commerce really early on, and you must be impressed by that working for an online retailer.
Yes, yeah. There's a whole big science behind it, but I think email only sort of contact, it's just so amazing, like how you can tailor who you're sort of reaching, who you're, and I think that's like really, really invaluable to young brands.
I also think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think someone like Marques Almeida, that they like grew online, because I think so much of their success came out of street style. So people were used to seeing their clothes online. It kind of feels like a good forum for them in some way. But I'm interested, do you think, just in terms of buying designer stuff online, we always talk about these on these panels because, a lot of the older brands are really, really against it. But I'm interested, do you think, like, obviously working with something like ASOS, do you think a younger generation are completely, like, they will always buy stuff online, whether it's super expensive or super cheap?
I don't know, I think if you're buying something really expensive, you do still want to go in and like have that whole thing of trying it on and buying it. But with cheaper things, like, obviously it's so much easier. Obviously you're going to do that. Like.
So do you not think it makes sense for designer young brands to do online then? Because maybe in a way their stuff, like, you can't touch it, you can't...
I don't know, I still think, because their stuff's so nice, I think it is still nice to just go in the shop and get it. But people are still going to buy it online. So.
And I guess it's about them setting up their own identity, isn't it? Because
they've always had really strong imagery right from the start. They've done really, really nice shoots, and I think that's maybe why they work quite well doing online stuff. That they've I don't even think they were necessarily particularly expensive, but they've made sure that they've really conveyed an image of what they're doing with their garments and the styling and the shoots they've been putting out.
Well, their resort campaign, it was like Marta's sister, and they shot it in Brazil. It was like really sweet, really, really nice, and that kind of like, I think they're really good at building, I think genuinely, but also in terms of just building that veneer of a community. So when you buy their pieces, you feel like you're in this like little world, and you can kind of like Instagram them, and they'll probably write back to you like, oh, you look great. Like, and I think that's really nice, that kind of conversation.
I would also say that one thing that's really interesting I find with them is that because they're doing denim in a really sophisticated way, or they're doing what they're doing in a very sophisticated way, it's actually really multi-generational. So I mean, for example, I'm sure Cora would feel very happy wearing it, but I'd also feel really, there are very few brands that I'd feel comfortable at my age wearing of this generation, and I really want their garments, and I feel very happy kind of wearing that kind of thing. And I think it's I think you can be wearing them into your 50s or whatever. So they're not a kind of, although they've got this kind of very nice edge to them, it's not a kind of super youthful brand in an exclusive way.
No, I think they're quite open also with bodies as well. I think that's a big part of how they shoot their stuff as well, and they're kind of the women that they feature. It's not always super slender, kind of like tiny young girls. It's very like often girls who are kind of quite normal looking. They've been a big part of that street cast thing, which I think people respond to really well. What I'm interested, just going back to the online thing, what young brands are getting online right? What things do we think are really impressive when brands do them online?
Do you know Cold War?
No. I know the Cold War.
Like their Instagram's really nice, and I just like the whole streetcast thing that everyone's doing at the moment.
Why is everyone doing it? What do you think?
Because you want cool people, actual cool people doing it, not just like a little model that's not even cool. Why?
So do you think it's about coolness, or do you think it's about relatability? Because I think
relatability, yeah. It's like, oh, that could be me. Like, it's just, it looks better. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, it is interesting. It does look better. I was thinking about that this season because there are a lot of shows that are really, really street cast, and then you go from one of those and you go to a show where it's just like white, thin women.
You know, everyone looks the
so
same.
Dated and weird and like unluxurious and unexciting.
And it communicates so much more about the brand. I mean, did you see Ashley's show this morning?
No, I didn't go this
So
morning.
the final look that she had came out on this girl that's had the most amazing tattoos all over her, and it was meant to be a really moody show, and it was a bit kind of like Camden Look hangover from the 90s kind of, but it just really communicated the whole spirit of the thing, like better than just having an anonymous row of coat hangers going out.
But yeah, it's interesting. I don't understand why more brands aren't catching on to that, because even just from a really like, you know, from a marketing perspective, I think like lots of studies have shown that women will buy things if they're shown on people that like are more relatable to them. But it's just madness. Like you just go to these shows and it looks so dated when it comes out like that. What's your take on it?
Well, I think like going back to Marques, it's like that, you know, the Instagram that's where it's successful. That's where people, I think, have fallen in love with what they do, seeing real women wear, you know, putting their own outfits together and wearing their clothes. And I think so you have the catwalks with the models, and that's fine, you know, that is what it is, but I'm more interested in the behind the scenes, what's going on in the streets, how people are wearing the outfits, and it's just more real. And I think there is a move, you know, it is changing very slowly, but even like this fashion week, you know, I've noticed a lot more, you know, street style and real people and presentations, and there does seem to be a real shift.
There definitely does. I think the younger designers completely like it's. I couldn't really actually name a young brand where they've put it on models. You know, like,
and also like you don't want to pay for a model.
Yeah, exactly. It's cheaper as well.
Isn't it? Like I'll give you a really nice skirt if you model for me.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think it is really true. But I think I love that's the first expense to go. They're like, oh, models are not that important. Actually, we'd rather do a really great set, because it's not like, it doesn't look like people are scrimping, but they obviously don't have the money. But I like that they're like, actually, I'm going to show this on real cool people. Like that's more important, and I want to prioritize my set.
Does it end up getting into a kind of like Uber/Airbnb exploitative thing where actually we're ending up not paying people to work?
But I think most people just put their mates in it. You know, I think that's what I think that's a big part of it. It's not. It's just like, you know, people like Nazir have always done that, but like Molly Goddard, people like that, they're just like their pals and their friends, you know.
Can you imagine being the one ugly friend that gets left out?
Yeah, but I think it depends how you see ugly, because I think a lot of the people who've been cast by some of these brands, they're quite strange looking individuals, but they look amazing.
I did Nazir's, I can't remember what one it was, but it was like me and like everyone was completely different. Like some people were really like skinny, like.
Did you like doing it?
It was so fun. Like we just all had a laugh. Like he was like, right, go there and just basically just have a party. Like, and it was so good. And it was like, was still like my favourite. Not just because I was in it, but like I look back and it was my favourite. I look back and I'm like, that just looks like we're having so much fun, and we was. Yeah. And it's just like his brand, you know.
Well, again, just that, even that thing of having people smiling in a show.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Sibling have been amazing with that always, but it's just you know.
But I hate it though when, do you not hate it when
people look really pissed
designers
off.
have told the models, because it works when it's street cast, when you're like, oh, have loads of fun, you know, and Nazir's like, have a party, because it feels really authentic and it's all his mates and they're having a good time. But you can tell when a designer has said, or a casting director has said to models, smile and look like you're having fun, because they walk down the runway and they're like, and you're like, you're miserable, what are you doing? And it's the most uncomfortable thing, you know, when they try and make them like, they're like, look into the crowd and like, and then they just look like they want to die.
I had an even worse one on the show that I'm not going to name recently, where it was one of the static ones, where I think some of the models have maybe come from a non-fashion background and were very much like giving it.
Oh,
way, and it was a bit like, I'm not sure about that.
Oh, that's so uncomfortable. There's a really good comm show, it was a men's show, where they told the models to like interact with the crowd, and like only one of them could do it. Like the guy that opened it was amazing, and he was really funny, and he'd like look at people and be like, and then some of the others were just like, they looked, so they were like these poor little 17-year-old boys like trying to be all like, and then this one would just come out and be really great. He was really sexy.
Painfully shy teenagers.
But it's an interesting one. But it's interesting. I want to go back to something you said about street style, and you talked about kind of it's more real. And I think one thing that I worry about is kind of the business of street style has become so massive now, because I think brands, like probably off the back of people like Marques Almeida, have realised how much success you can get off people wearing stuff, and I think wearing it authentically in the case of Marques Almeida, people just really liked it. But now it feels like that whole street style circus, it's as polished and it's kind of as controlled and as uniform as the runways are. Like I was looking through some of the pictures from the big sort of street style photographers for this season, and it is all like, again, white, really slender women wearing brands clothes. It's like, it's not really real people, like no one's wearing anything non-designer. And I think now it's almost like the brands, they're so aware of that, so they're planting things on people, they're paying people to wear stuff, and it's almost like, I think that's quite dangerous in a way, because
I guess street style is separate from street casting though. I mean, I think street casting is just seeing some amazing looking person on the bus next to you and getting their phone number, as opposed to some kind of 6'1" Russian girl in Norway.
But you're not seeing that there are amazing people like that at Fashion Week, but they're not the ones that are getting shot.
I hate street style at Fashion Week. It's like everyone's gone right out their way just to be like, please take a picture of me. Like I'd rather see someone like walking through like East London that looks sick. Like that's cool, but not someone that's just like.
But it's all head to toe looks now, isn't it? So that's what's really weird. It's like you'll get shot if you're wearing like a full Vuitton runway look, and it's like, that's mad.
But there's also like a complete science to it as well. I mean, the one way to guarantee never to be photographed is just to wear all black all the time, and you're not, you're safe.
Yeah, it's strange. Do we think that's where I get worried about fashion in some ways, because I think how ethical it is for brands to be working in that way, and if consumers are aware of it, because I don't think people who see street style shots online or in magazines know that people have been paid to wear those clothes, or that relationship can get a bit murky. Do we need more control within that? Or
I think with YouTubers there just definitely needs to be transparency about it, don't you think? It's
I think it's just got really old. It's so not fresh at all. It's just like same old every season.
But do you find people respond well to seeing a street style photograph of like a garment? Like, would it do well for you if someone's photographed in something? Does it have a knock-on impact?
I think it's more, Instagram has more impact.
Does
so
it?
It's
That's
more personal, So they're very different, I think. So, and that's where I think, what people are doing on Instagram, it's, people at home or with their friends, and so it's not polished like street style. So that has more impact on us and our brand.
It's strange how quickly it's moved, hasn't it? Because if you think even like 4 years ago, like a brand like this could kind of make themselves through street style, and now it's like street style's too old, it needs to be Instagram, and you always think, what's the next thing going to be? But because Instagram, I think that's already getting really polished as well, and people are aware how much money they can make, and
so I need to go.
Like that worries me with Instagram as well, because at the moment it's on that cusp of becoming exactly the same, where it's really like commercialized and commodified and strange. Like you go on people's accounts and you're like, you were paid to put that up, you were paid to put that up. Like it's really, really weird. But actually fashion's relationship with Instagram is quite murky, I think.
I think people that don't work in fashion don't really know about the getting paid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to most people, like people here, like obviously we'd know that, but I think general customer.
But that's what worries me, because I think they'll look at someone's page then. I think you follow people you like and you trust, even if it's like a blogger with a big following. And then if they're being like, oh, this is amazing, or like, I'm wearing these new shoes, they're going to think that person actually genuinely likes them, and it is advertising. It's like, all the kind of stuff you see on TV, like warnings for product placement and all of that, like they just, all those regulations just, it's like they don't exist online. And maybe they shouldn't, but I think that's a strange kind of...
I think there's also this perception that people that are doing that are making loads of money or unable to buy these things. So my kids think you can make an absolute fortune out of being a YouTuber. They don't realise that people are given a lot of stuff for free. I think it's a viable career choice.
Well, a lot of it is fake life, isn't it? It's the same with street style. Like a lot of the pictures you see of people, they're wearing clothes that they don't own, that they've like borrowed and stuff. And it's really, really, really.
Which is no different from the red carpet, of course.
No, it's not. That's true. That's a good way of putting it.
You know, it's of course we all know that people borrow their clothes to the red carpet or are paid to wear clothes to the red carpet, but the majority of people that are reading, you know, Evening Standard magazine or Grazia or whatever, who see these things, they assume that they're being purchased.
Should we have a look at what Marques Almeida have done for this season? It's interesting. Do you want some more tea?
Yeah, sorry.
Can I have some more as well? That'd be so lovely. It's interesting. We were just talking so much about denim, and then they've obviously are making a real effort to establish that they can do something that's very, very different. It's more whimsical.
It's a bit more romantic.
Yeah, it's definitely more romantic.
I was wondering if they would go that way, like following on from the last show. I think it's quite interesting.
I think, I think some of the pieces that they've done that are those kind of like sheers and chiffons, they are so beautiful, but I think you're right, it's just getting the buyers to kind of catch on to them. I'm interested, sorry, can we just go back a little bit? Sorry, we're zooming through. I'm interested with the leather pieces that they included, whether those are, there was one before that.
Is it leather or coated denim or a new treatment or something?
But I wonder if they're part of, they almost look a little bit like, I think what's interesting with their stuff is some of it looks almost like it's sourced rather than made. I don't think it is. I think that's part of their success, that stuff looks so authentically sort of old. Do you know what I mean? Like their stuff looks really, really vintage, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, it goes back to that experimenting with textiles a lot and just trying to work out different finishes and different ways to work with them and to get a different result from something as well.
Number 6 is very, I'd look at look 6 and that, to me that's quite typically them. Like it's kind of like, that's much more what I'd associate more than something like look 7. Like if I saw look 7 just as a still, I'd be like, oh, that's Simone Rush. You know, you'd think it was a different designer. So it's nice to see them kind of pushing things.
And there are a lot of people doing that kind of embellished net at the moment as well.
I just feel like I've become really numb to like boobs on the runway. Everything is sheer, and it's also, you can tell like quite boring designers are like, oh, we'll make this look exciting by just having like a sheer top, and it's like, right, okay, cool. I think their palette's very signature to them. Like I always think with them like cream, black, navy, obviously because of the denim, but also like these reds and pinks that they do. I think they've like got a really interesting way with colour.
I mean, to me, it looks like they're investigating chiffon in the way they're investigating denim, so they're really agitating it. And
well, it's much more evening wear, isn't it? It's much more kind of party wear. It's more fancy.
But they're destroying it as well as, you know, they're making it. They're getting a lot of different textures out of it, a lot of different finishes from it.
But I also think they've got their staples now. Like you can always get the denim tunic. They have these things that they make every season, so it probably gives them more of a license to actually play with this other stuff as well.
Looks like their silhouettes, their trousers, so it's like their denim silhouettes, doing them in other fabrics as well.
Well, like, exactly that halter neck shape is like such a them shape. You've seen that all the time.
And then mixing in the other textures like that jacquard.
I can't. Is this actually kind of suede moving from 19 to 20, or is it underneath, or is that just more like a kind of coppery coloured fabric?
Which one?
Maybe a chiffon. I just think it looks like a layered chiffon.
Yeah, layered
on 20.
Yeah.
So,
Underneath, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting as well because it's a real move away from the last collection. I think it's like they've gone back sort of, you know, to looking at the 90s and really that more, you know, deconstructed, and maybe it's the colour palette as well.
It feels more very specific references. I think in the last few seasons it's felt more like removed, whereas this it does look like they're almost replicating looks from specific pictures, which I think is quite interesting because that's really like what they did when they started, how they'd like almost find an old Melanie Ward editorial or something and then they'd be like, we want to capture that, and this feels a bit more like that again. But they've talked in their show notes about, they've said, since winning the LVMH prize, the need to remain connected to their roots has never been stronger. So I think also probably winning a prize like that, it would make you sort of consider and consolidate the work you've done in the past and maybe revisit your own work and think about what you're about, and maybe this is in some way what they were doing. I like the colour palette. I think it's interesting that they've gone so much with the kind of sludgy greens and browns, and it's kind of quite faded out, which I quite like. It is very different though.
And the denim's a more rich indigo. Looks really nice as well, doesn't it?
Do you know, I don't know why, because it's not, there's no pieces in there that are particularly surprising, but it's not really what I expected them to do, because it's quite diverse. I thought they'd do something really tight and really, really edited, whereas this is a little bit kind of eclectic. Maybe that's really, I actually like that, but it's not what I thought they'd do. Like, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're actually pushing out into potential new directions to go to from here. It's
like building from their sort of, you know, core staple, I suppose, of what they've become known for. I think the chiffon dresses look amazing.
Yeah, they look really, really.
I think it's very wise
really
putting it next to
beautiful.
that really worked, the worked denim dress as well, because you can then see the kind of flow through.
I love that they ended like 35 and 36, kind of like, maybe that's like their version of bridal wear, you know? Because it's white at the end. It's like, imagine getting married in 35. That would be the dream. Like, you'd look so cool. Or 36, but that would be a bit more. Are there close-ups we can see to get a sense of the fabric?
I just want to touch them.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
all I want to do.
You want to see how they move.
Amazing.
It is a lot more, it's interesting because it feels a lot more, even though it's very undone, because there's lots of like raw and stuff, like edges and stuff, it feels very worked in a way that I think maybe does feel quite different for them.
Yeah, it's more finished.
It is, yeah. It feels just like very, very designed, you know, like really, like you can imagine them kind of pulling and tucking.
I think they are. I mean, I think that's kind of always been their magic edge, that they are extremely precise in what they're doing, even though it looks very casual.
Yeah.
And I think it's that real distinction with the kind of revisitation of grunge in the last few years, that if you're going to revisit something that's meant to be extremely casual, you need to do it so beautifully, you need to do it so impeccably. I've seen so many, you know, references to that kind of 90s grunge thing, which just doesn't look like it. It doesn't add anything more to it. It's just, you know, the referencing.
It needs to be reinvented, doesn't it? You know, for now.
I love these halter necks because
they're amazing.
Well, usually they've just done, you know, it's like, because I have one of the, like that classic one that they always do that's like a kind of just like denim, and you just kind of, it's like you do it up with a popper at the back, and that feels really new because it's quite it's quite like sexy, but it's also quite Austin Powers, you know, it's a bit like it's a bit like 60s.
You are not allowed to go Liz Hurley.
No, it is, you know what I mean? It's a bit kind of it's like, you know, that because when we think of the 90s now, I think we all see it through like those rose-tinted glasses. We think Kate Moss, you know, all those pictures you see on Instagram, like kind of grunge. But there is that side to the 90s, you know, it's like really bad party top and bootleg
Oh my
jeans.
God, yeah, some of the Prada collections.
Yeah, like
looking
so
back
bad.
over, just hideous.
But that, it kind of reminds me of, you know, when everyone used to wear those big buckle belts, like really, really bad, like jeans with those big, like rectangular buckles.
Are you loving the lipstick as well?
I am really enjoying the lipstick. It's kind of like slightly bad elements, but those tops are I like how they've just updated that, because that's such a signature for them, and with that it's
actually thinking about it, this is a real Prada palette from the 90s.
Really, really
that
Prada
acidic red against the brown and the pink. You know, it's that mixture of the kind of autumnal colours with the really sharp colours.
It feels it does feel more laboured than past collections, which I do like.
I hadn't realised that those feathers were actually part of the top. That's really extraordinary.
It looks quite stressful to wear that. Like, get in your mouth a lot.
I love that. Look 16. That blouse is amazing.
Yeah, really, really, really beautiful. But then it's like when, do you remember when Thomas Tate did the first collection after winning the LVMH prize, and everyone was like, it looks so much more expensive. And I think that kind of is the case a little bit with this. Like, you look at it and you think they probably have had access to things or fabrications or what have you that maybe were difficult before, so it does look a little bit more.
I mean, think of the man-hours that went into 17 and 18. That's a lot of handwork.
So beautiful.
Is this all actually white cotton? Is this more?
Looks like calico. Some of it, doesn't it?
And in your Liz Hurley fancy, maybe it's actually even white denim.
Maybe, that would be the dream. The halter neck I actually own from them is white denim. It's really great. So were you impressed by what we're seeing? Do we like it?
I think it's quite a brave collection, actually.
I do. I agree with you, because it's not. I think some people probably won't like it because it doesn't feel that focused, but in a good way. But it would have been really easy for them to do, because I think maybe the last two collections, they have been really, really quite focused. Like the brocades of last time were a little bit kind of whimsical and haphazard, but it was very much like that's what that collection was about, and all the looks kind of tied together. Whereas this one, there's a lot more like one idea explored and then a different idea explored, and the looks don't run together quite in the same way. But I think that's quite great, because it's like they're pushing things in a different way. But yeah, it doesn't feel that focused.
I don't know, because I think about the last collection. To me, some of the dresses, I love the fact they'd used the brocades and all the beautiful damasks, and the dresses felt quite restrictive to me. And I think with this collection, they've almost gone back to what they're good at, and they're exploring the more romantic silhouettes. I really like it.
Yeah, that's actually
I think it feels really right for now as well.
Yeah, you're right. Last season it was quite constricted.
Yeah.
It was quite like a lot
and
of
a bit
those
more
kind of
80s.
corsets.
It felt to me. And
Yeah.
I think this, feels like they've sort of let go a bit more and sort of exploring, what they love.
And going back to that age listing as well, what's nice about this is it doesn't look. I thought like last season was very youthful. It was very much relied on a really skinny youthful body, whereas this is much more like kind of old school then, where it's very like you can kind of wear it whatever. Do you like it, Cora?
I love 32. I do really like it.
It's like business on the top.
Yeah.
That's
what you need today.
Downing Street and DJ outfit. Yeah. Perfect. So you're impressed? You like it?
I do really like it, but I don't know if it is something I wouldn't go mad to buy it or anything. But I do like it.
But that's interesting you say, because I was looking at it and it looks like one of those collections, where you imagine like almost what they'd look like in store. Like I'd love to see them have a little pop-up shop somewhere and have, or like a store in store, and have some of those amazing really work pieces almost on a mannequin. Like it feels like one of those collections that's very much about like, setting a mood or a tone rather than just great pieces. But then maybe that is because they've now got that run of staples, so it's easier to do these kind of like show pieces, which some of these do feel like they're kind of made.
I guess when they're on their own, it's a different story, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it's all together, like a look like that.
So you're impressed, Hettie? You like?
Yeah, I think it's quite brave, and I think it's opening up some new channels for the future. Maybe they've had access to facilities they wouldn't otherwise been able to use, and they're experimenting with what they might do next. It feels like to me anyway.
Well, should we give them a round of applause to wrap things up?